Hello, everybody, and what up, my well-pot Bell Squad? It is good to see you. My name is Darth Microtransaction. Today, we have the patch 114, which in my opinion is a pretty good, fairly healthy patch. So let's take a look at this nice quality of life update today. Please do subscribe if you haven't already and help trick the YouTube algorithm into thinking I'm more popular than I am. I love you very much, and let's go. Okay, for sure, you guys are going to want to see the patch notes first. That way, if you're not interested in the gear, you can leave the video. So I'm going to go ahead and show that to you first. So this is what they're going to consider a quality of life patch. Now, before you get mad about content, because I've been very vocal. Heck, I don't need to even say me. We've all been very vocal about Bunny. TV, please, you ruined so many of my videos. The TV constantly thinks I'm talking to it. But the annoying part is when I'm trying to talk to the TV, you go like, hi, Bixby, or whatever. It's a Samsung TV. When you try and talk to it, it won't listen to me. It only listens to me when I don't want it to listen to it. And look, now it's listening to me, and it's Googling exactly everything. I call them smarter, but they're not. So let's get back to the topic here. Okay, this is a quality of life patch 114. So before you get looking for new content, let's go back a minute and think about the things that I've been asking for a while ago. Now, let's assume that they're actually trying to pump out what we're asking and it's just taking them forever, okay? If we give them the benefit of the doubt there, if you look back at the stuff we've been asking, they are implementing that. They're literally adding that into the game. Now, I think what's happening is as the game progresses, we get more and more frustrated with older things, right? Where it's like, we want more content, we want more this, we want more that. And they're trying to add it to the game. It's taking them a minute. So I do actually really like this patch. It's not going to have overloaded content in it, meaning you're not going to see just tons and tons of like new stuff, okay? But in my personal opinion, this is a really good patch. And the reason I say that is because one of my points in my older videos were, when you put out stuff like Faction Wars and Platinum and have to go back and constantly fix it, that's a problem. So let's go back and get quality of life changes, aka like infrastructure changes that will make the game better. Okay, I do believe artifact filtering highly falls under this category. Now, we're not going to jerk them a whole bunch for putting out artifact filtering and all that, because it is something that's fairly standard. It should have been out, but let us keep in mind that this is something we have been asking for, okay? They added this into the game directly from community feedback. I personally do not believe this is something that was ever on the plate until we constantly... It Googled again. I do not believe that this would have come into the game without consistent feedback from you, the people, and from us, the YouTubers. I do believe this is them listening, is what I'm trying to say here. So we're going to start here with quality of life artifact filtering, which is exactly how you would basically want it to be if we look. If you look here, artifact typing, it's got everything you want. You can sort by primary stats and by substats. You can click every single one you want. So you can show up, where it's at. If you look even closer, if you zoom in, it doesn't show very well, but on this piece of gear, it even shows you where the gear is equipped by a little icon of the other character. They're doing a good job on these. I do really like the way this is set up. You can click on each individual one or all of them, just new, the equipped. This is well done. Okay, I like this overlay. Nicely done. And here you can see artifacts can be sorted by type or stats, primary substats, etc. We're not going to go too much deeper into this because it's a layout that looks intuitive. It's how you feel it should be done. That's how it's laid out. Nicely done. Let's just move on. Okay, that's something we all wanted. Now here's another good quality of life. This is the champion collection capacity increase. Now before you're thinking vault, this is actually for the main storage. So that means you're going to have 200, double what you currently can, of people you can hold at any time. Now, people like me who summon hundreds of shards daily, we're not going to feel this as much because all we do is we're going to add another 100 and they have the same problems. But this is huge for the average player. 100 champion spots is a lot, and I do thank them for adding this. You have to be positive when there's positive things, and all of this is good, okay? Now, clan boss counter, again, this is good. This is showing you here I mean, do I need to explain it? How many turns and how much damage? Okay, it's that simple, because at 50 turns, he starts hitting through unkillable and block damage and things like that. Okay, you need to know where you're at. This will help people both new and advanced. So if people who are advanced trying to figure out turns and all that, maybe they're a little beyond needing a turn counter, they've got it all in their head, etc. But this does help people who are trying to theory craft, especially people like me who are casual theory crafters who like funny combinations and just want to mess around, and maybe we don't really care as much about the output of it. We're just trying to kind of have fun. The turn thing will allow us to mess around with the clan boss teams easier. It'll let us see how it's going easier. I like that quite a good amount, to be honest. And it's also going to let me see things like Longbeard when he charges. It's going to let me see how much damage that Longbeard charge is doing every time. So I can get kind of a way to compare that. I actually think this is another basic, simple quality of life change, but is a high level change when it comes to how useful it will be. I think things like this are extremely important to the game. And I've said many times in my previous videos, we need quality of life. We need the little things. We need quality of life. So I'm just going to constantly praise quality of life changes because I think they're extremely crucial. So let's move on to the balance, okay? Now, balance of champions, I think, is getting better. There's some of the bad characters in here, basically. Lord Champ Fort now has decreased defense chance on his basic. That's good. Earthshaker now scales from his HP. That's good because he has HP, obviously, with the HP aura as well. His shield's now doubled, and he places decreased speed on them. These are all good things. Champ Fort got buffed. Definitely going to be better in Faction Wars. Might see some more use across the board. Decent, not great, right? And then Mashald here is the real big winner. So now the basic attack attacks an enemy and then attacks all enemies under the Leech debuff. It heals the champion by 30% of the damage inflicted. Same as before, but this time now he's attacking everyone with Leech. The Tornado, which is his second move, now instead of just giving like crit chance and speed, gives speed and crit damage on everybody. Okay, like everyone gets it now instead of just him and the leader. And then places a True Fear and Leech debuff on all enemies for 2 turns. This just happens. It isn't a % chance. And then he also gets an extra turn. Obviously, all of these things are fantastic. That move alone is why he's going to be more or less busted. Now, then you move on to the third move, and it gets better because he can steal all the buffs from a target enemy and then attack the target. Keep in mind, attacking the target will attack, I'm pretty sure, with his basic, meaning he's going to do the Leech next, I believe. But we'll see how the AI actually implements it. Then he places 100% heal reduction debuff for 2 turns and places a continuous heal buff on this champion for 3 turns. Inflicts 50% more damage against targets under buffs. People typically are under buffs, so you're going to be doing more additional damage. And if he's stealing the buff, then he's going to do more damage, and you can imagine exactly how that would work because he's going to take everything away. Now do 50% more. He's probably going to nuke the guy. So this could potentially just be a one-person nuke, and then he has a huge team-wide buff. Pretty good. Pretty good. And the True Fear is nuts. I would say Leech is, it is what it is, but True Fear is nuts, and Leech gets a buff, which we'll talk about later. Okay, now we're moving on to War Chief. Interesting enough, I just poured the War Chief. So his basic goes up to 25% chance from 15% chance on Brutal Force. The Marauder is reduced to a 4-turn cooldown. And the Ascended now, scroll up here a little bit, Ascended now steals 2 buffs with 100% chance up from 75. So give him a little love to War Chief there. And his defense increases by 15% for each dead ally. That's excellent. Now, Mordo McCab here. I have a few of these guys. I'm pretty excited for this. Each hit now has a 90% chance of placing block buffs. And if the target is under heal reduction, block buffs cannot be resisted. Obviously, Mr. Marshall Mathers has healing reduction, so these two might pair together. And then Fiery Rage, this is the big change. It's up to 20% from 10%. This is for his secret skill that unlocks Peril. And if you unlock Peril, it's more or less a one-shot that goes through like everything. This might be enough to make him really useful. Plus, he has a speed aura, so I might throw him as a lead in arena and just check it out. Now, Richtof the Bold is the one I am the most excited about, even more than Marshall Mathers, and I'll show you why. Because look at this, okay? Decrease targets max HP 30%, up from 10%, but this is the one. Attacks one enemy 3 times. Each hit places a 5% poison debuff on all enemies for 2 turns. It's a 2-turn up to a triple poison. This is effectively a better Tomb Lord AoE, And for that reason, pairing this character with Zavia is going to make him absolutely nuts. Plus, it's a 3-hit, so that's going to be really, really good for Fire Knight. And then if you look at this move here, attacks an enemy, deals 20% additional critical damage for each poison debuff on the target, up to 100% critical damage bonus. So on top of applying poisons to everybody for Zavia to pop, he's going to be nuking people as well. I see this Richtof the Bold character as someone I'm probably going to be maxing out now, weirdly enough. And I have, I think, 4 Richtofs at this point. So let's move on to Duchess. Okay, no longer decreases allies from AoE attacks from under the Veil buff, and the reason is the buff is now natural AoE damage reduction. They basically moved Duchess's like passive here about the AoE damage reduction just to Veil itself. They like that mechanic. I think that's a good change because Duchess is overpowered. Vergus here got some additional changes for being an epic. He does the original effects, but he also gives ally protection, and he gets 60% defense on him, but all the allies get ally protection. He's basically trying to make him a defensive champ. I get that. And now he also gets a shield buff on the champion with 10% of his max HP when he loses 10% HP, which, so I'm not really sure how that mechanic's going to work. I guess he loses 50%, he gets 50% perhaps. Oathbound here, damage was significantly increased. He has a chance to decrease the turn meter by 20%, has 75% chance for placing decreased attack for 2 turns. Ascended is now 50%, and damage significantly increased. Okay, so maybe that's the only change, is damage significantly increased. And then if the target is under a decreased attack debuff, the chance of placing block cooldowns is now 100%. Oh, I see, it's just some mild buffs. And then a Colt Brawler, this skill no longer has a cooldown for Ruination Ritual. Interesting there. We'll have to see what that's going to bring apart. So now Faction Wars. There's 2 things they did to this. I'm not going to read all this. I'm just going to tell you what they did. They removed some of the lower glyphs, like the 2 glyphs, the 2-star glyphs from some of the higher dungeons, and they increased the drop rate of 3 and 4 glyphs to kind of help people out. And then Platinum tier here, they changed it starting from update 114. We're going to introduce a small change to how battles in Platinum tier work. After fighting the same opponent 10 times in a day, 24 hours, both victories and defeats count. Every subsequent battle with that opponent will trigger a 15-minute cooldown or not disappear after the arena lich is refreshed. Fantastic change. This will stop, well, actually, will it? Let's think about this. Fighting the same opponent 10 times in a day, both victories and defeats count. I mean, you could still probably boost with a good amount of people, but this is a good change. I mean, it's a start. I like this. This will stop people from like, one other guy, like just a guy with his friend, kind of nuking their way to the top. Healthy change. This, I don't really know how much this affects me, to be honest, because like I struggle just to get in, maintain my spot in like the bottom of Platinum. So this doesn't really affect me. I'm not going to be hitting the top ranks, but for people that are competing for the top ranks, that's a good change. Clan Boss Revive changes. So they're nuking basically the block Revive. Okay, so this is like, I think it got dubbed the Phoenix Team by Murder Inc., where they use the like revive on kind of Shamrock and the Light Sworn thing to kind of get around. There was a smart team that tries to get around the unkillable block damage. Good team here. They're nuking that again. Basically, it's now going to be 50 turns. I don't know if this. I don't really know the team when it comes to exactly how many turns you need and what people are in it, yada yada. So I'll let the people who use this team figure out how hard this is going to be on their change. But basically, after turn 50, now he just kills your guys, just like unkillable. So then we have Leech and Veil, Perfect Veil. So this is where Leech is now 18% heal instead of 10%. And then the champions under Veil and Perfect Veil is 7.5 and 15% respectively damage reduction. So this is massive. Absolutely massive for anyone providing Perfect Veil. The Leech impact 18% is kind of whatever, but that's a nice change. Now the fear change here is both it's kind of a nerf, okay? If you look here, because people like Marshall Mathers are going to be nuking people with these fears. So what they did here is they made it where the masteries, okay, now affected, but the more important one is Master Hexer, Sniper, things like that are not applying the chances of fear and true fear, right? Okay, you can't even increase the duration of it using people like Warlord or anything. So my Warlord combo with Marshall Mathers is going to not work as well, but that's okay. All right, so this is just kind of keeping it consistent with things like freeze and stun and stuff like that, I'm okay with that. Now, miscellaneous changes here. Fusion menu will now be able to see people who are for the fusion, but in the champion vault, just easier to see. So, What do you think, WellPod, about all these changes? I mean, obviously, I'm pretty positive about this one. I think everything on the... I don't really see any changes here that I didn't like. I think, you know, obviously, there's not what I would call brand new content. But like I said in the beginning, I think this patch we needed. All of this stuff is going to make your gameplay more enjoyable and easier. That's the way I see it. I think you should be excited by this patch. Now, that's just my opinion on it. You are more than welcome to your own. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video. I do appreciate it. You can subscribe if you want to see more of me by clicking right here, this button. Or you can, up here, if you want to watch a video, that one. Enjoy them.